Good evening. Welcome to another hot topic in the van life community. I'm enjoyed to have you here tonight. I had to postpone this from last week to tonight, Monday, September 8, 2025. And it's, again, a delight to have you here, whether you're watching the live stream or watching the replay. I really do appreciate that. If we're meeting for the first time, howdy. My name is Scott Watson. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Go Small, Live Large, which I've been operating since 2018. And I went full-time in my camper van. There she is right there, Miss Lily, in February of 2019. And the last year or so, I've been doing part-time trips like most of you. And if you're a longtime viewer and a loyal Go Small, Live Large community member, really appreciate you being here tonight and watching. If you're into van life content, travel, topics, products, places, this is the channel for you. You'll want to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get notifications for our live streams, which we're now doing several times a month. And we've got an owner coming up next Friday. And I'm really excited to have them share their story. I met with Gary this morning. This is our topic tonight, wildfires. And while we're past the peak season, which is August, wildfires continue to be a really big deal. And I'm going to show you some statistics that'll probably blow your mind. I was blown away. I've got some tips for you. I've done some research and some tips on what to do before you go travel in your RV, your camper van. Some tips while you're traveling. Once you get to the campground, assuming you have an opportunity to scout a site, I think of like BLM, Bureau of Land Management, Forest Service land. Some tips that I probably wouldn't have thought of until I came across this topic. And then I've got some really cool wildfire resources to share with you tonight. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a little bit of a monologue to get through that, but we definitely want to get your questions. So this is the question format that we like to use. That's 3 asterisks followed by 3 question marks. And if you can help me out, use that question format. That will really help me see your question and get it answered more quickly. I'm a little out of practice. It's kind of funny. If you have a story about a wildfire incident while you were camping, or you know somebody personally, and you really want to bring that story forward, please use this format, 3 asterisks, 3 exclamation points, and that will help us share your story and experience very much so. And I have a real life story about my brother in Spokane, Washington. I might share with you tonight. Got a couple of events coming up, and the big one I mentioned earlier, this is Carl and Kay. They're owners of the Midwest Automotive Design Patriot. They're going to be on next Friday at the 19th of September at 7 p.m. Eastern. Really cool couple. They are about halftime. His wife just got a hip replacement, and they're already getting ready to hit the road. So they're a cool couple, and I've never interviewed a couple that own a Patriot before. So this is the first time doing that, and I'm really excited to have them on board. We've got more events coming up, which is going to be really exciting. I'm kind of leaning into it now that I'm kind of counting down to getting back on the road. I'm really excited about those events. We'll update you here on the live streams and on my YouTube channel, GoSmallLiveLarge.com. All right. I see a bunch of folks in here tonight. This is great. Thank you for being here, David and Sherry and Terry. So let me just say hi to folks quick. And here's David. And here's Big Mac Man. What happened? He made that comment at 3:45 in the morning last Friday. So sorry about that. Here's David. He's in Chicago. Good to see you. Here's Rob, EMT Rob from Minnesota. Here's Justin in the house. Good to see you, sir. Appreciate that. Go Bills. Yeah. Here's John. Go Bills. Go Bears. Here's Ohio Sharon. Good to see you, ma'am. Tav, nice to see you here. Brandon. Hi, Scott. Good to see you. Gas. Plano, Texas. $2.49. Holy cow, that's cheap. Gas looks expensive in Florida still. Here's Sherry in the house. Glad to have you here. Appreciate that. Here's Terry coming in from Michigan. There's Deborah. Go Small, Live Large on a Monday, Football Monday. Oh, man, if you're watching the football game and you're watching YouTube Live, Go Small, Live Large. Pretty cool. There's Gumbo. and the Sandwich. Good to see you. Appreciate that. And here's Sharon. She's in her corporate apartment, headed for England, New England, in October to see some leaves. That's pretty cool. All right, let me kind of get into some of the statistics. It's pretty crazy. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do the live. And again, if you have any questions, wildfire related or otherwise, everything's on the table tonight. We'll go for, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes until everybody's satisfied. And then I'm going to make a truncated video out of this so more people can see it. But let me show you some statistics. It's pretty stunning. So this is wildfire season 2025. This data was captured about 3 weeks ago, maybe mid-August. 2025, 4 million acres have burned in the U.S. Does not include Canada, from 45,000 different fires year to date. That was about 2 weeks ago. Contrast that with 2024, there are nearly 9 million acres. And while the peak season is over, it is still a long way from wet season hitting everywhere. And in contrast, again, is 2.7 million acres were burned in 2023. So if it hits 9 million for this year, it's just a steady increase. And that's why there's just great concern. And the amount of damage caused is just continues to grow as well. If you remember the big California fire where it burned the whole neighborhood down, 12 deaths, $25 billion in damage. So I'm going to show you this resource here in a couple of minutes. And this is, I captured this live this afternoon. This is the active wildfires in the United States. Clearly the West Coast is where all the action is. Well, everything west of, I don't know, what is that? The Great Plains. And, excuse me. And I'll kind of dig into that a little bit further because it's pretty interesting. Right now, well, as of two and a half weeks ago, these were the fires that were burning in national parks. A lot of us like to go to national parks. This is the Grand Canyon North Rim fire had burned 145,000 acres. There was a big fire, and if you look at that map carefully, still going on in the Olympic National Park in Washington State. Black Canyon of the Gunnison. I'm not familiar with that park, but we are familiar with Yellowstone. Got a lot of fires going on there. And Florida, of all places, which you wouldn't think of, has 2,500 fires so far this year, have burned 146,000 acres year to date. So it doesn't really matter where you are. Wildfires are really pretty serious. I would say the only thing that's more dangerous is a flash flood. We'll cover that on a different topic. I'm happy to say I personally have never experienced a forest wildfire. I have experienced a flash flood. So we'll make the topic as we get into the wet season a little bit later in the year. So here's some tips on that I've done some research, and where's my notes right there. I love these new features that StreamYard has including now your notes are part of the dashboard here. Okay, so let me kind of cover this before you travel. Now, some of this is pretty obvious, but sometimes the obvious never gets done because it's so obvious, right? So as you're kind of creating your route plan, recommendation is to check wildfire activity. Good idea. I'm going to show you some resources, but state forestry sites, a lot of websites. I'm going to show you some apps in particular, one I use, local fire departments. I think we're going to have to start relying on third-party resources and more local resources because some of these national government-based systems might be not as robust as they have been in the past for some of the reasons we've been reading in the news. This was a good one, and we talked to an RVer on our Patreon call 3 weeks ago. And this is plan multiple routes in and out of your location. Again, kind of seems obvious, but I always go in one way. I have never considered, especially if I'm going to be in a flood or fire prone area, a second way out. And what that couple had mentioned, even though they were on the interstate, which you wouldn't think would be too impacted, because the fire kept jumping over the interstate, they actually closed the interstate well in advance of the fire and made folks turn around, which really impacted things. And I think even Sharon, who's in here tonight, had a similar experience where she was trapped on the interstate, I think it was, or a state highway, and they were doing pilot cars of a few dozen vehicles at a time to get past the fire area in case, well, well, was cooled down a little bit. So again, check the activity in your area. Maybe have an emergency duffel bag that's got some extra food and water, medicine, pet stuff if you have a pet, so that if you have to abandon your vehicle, your RV quickly, you're ready to go in a moment's notice. Not a bad idea. Or at least know where things are, what you would stuff in that duffel bag so that you can really get out quickly. And here my notes indicate including an N95 mask. We know those from the COVID days for smoke, because smoke is usually the problem that overwhelms people. And don't forget your battery, radio, and flashlight and all that stuff. And the other thing before you travel, and this is kind of a good one, is to maintain your RV. And by that, I think it's make sure it's mechanically sound, which is kind of a no-brainer, but make sure your fuel tanks are full. I've had a few times, and this is where I developed my 50% tank rule. If I don't know where I'm going and I don't know where the next fuel stop is, and I'm at a half a tank of gas, I fill up to a full tank. My situation was headed to Mount St. Helens, and there was one gas station, and it was all uphill elevation. And if I hadn't filled up at that last gas station stop, I would have run out of gas on Mount St. Helens. That would have been a super bummer. And here on forest fires, if you're having to do some crazy get out of the area, you don't want to run out of fuel. So that's a pretty good tip there. While traveling, here's some good ideas here. Avoid smoke-heavy routes. Again, just check with the resources and they will show what's going on. Air Quality Index, AIQ, on some of the weather apps show that as well. So that's an indication. Again, I'll show you some resources here in just a minute. I'm not sure I agree with this point, but it says keep your RV ventilated safely, close windows, use air conditioning, recirculating, setting on AC to minimize smoke intake. Excuse me, my vocal cords are out of practice. As long as you're kind of hitting that on and off so it recirculates fresh air in, even if it's got some smoke in it, I think would be a good tip there. And be aware of the wind direction. So if you're going one way and the fire is coming this way and the wind shifts, that can make a dramatic difference on how you're going to approach that fire scene. So be very aware of how the wind is blowing. How are we doing so far? I'm going to check my comments here in just a minute. And vocal cords, very out of out of practice. Sorry. Yeah, I've got a question. Have them in. Come in. And we will get those answered. And if you have a story to share, please use this as well. Glad to have you here tonight. So this is some tips at the campsite. And this was a good idea. I really wouldn't have thought about that because the way I travel, I'm kind of a urban camper. I street camp a lot. I use harvest hosts. Might use a KOA RV park. I may use a state park or something like that where you're assigned a site. But certainly if you're in BLM forest land where you're kind of choose your own site, I think the tip here is to choose safe campsites. Avoid dry brush, tall grass, heavily wooded areas. Stay near cleared ground or gravel pads. So I think, again, just being aware, kind of like a dry wash in a flood-prone area. It looks like a dry riverbed until it rains. And then you got a river. And this is kind of the same deal. Just be aware of your surroundings. If you're in a area where there's like a park ranger or a camp host, if there is concern about fire, the recommendation is to talk with them, talk about evacuation plans. I know one state park in Idaho that's south of Boise. There's only one way in and out of that state park. It's a well-maintained road, but it's a grass prairie. And if that thing caught fire, holy cow. Obey any burn bans. And when possible, if it's propane campfires are allowed, do that, but just be super cautious on those kind of, again, be aware of that. And keep your RV ready to go. We kind of talked about that a little bit. The recommendation here is this doesn't affect camper van folks very much. But if you have to unconnect a whole bunch of stuff in a real fast getaway situation, I would kind of prepare and have the tanks full, tanks empty. Just on the occasion you have to leave quickly. Now the fifth wheel people, that's a whole different situation altogether. So I'm going to let you work on that. And that's kind of what I wanted to share with you. Let me share some resources quick, because I think this is pretty cool. I'm looking at my screen. There we go. If a wildfire threatens, sure, why not? This is actually pretty good. So evacuate early. Don't wait until the flames are visible. Smoke and embers travel with the wind and can jump a long way and start a brand new fire, even though it's the main fire is quite a ways from you. Drive carefully, turn your headlights on. That goes for rain too. And watch for emergency vehicles. Make sure they have right of way. Avoid narrow roads. Fire crews need clear access, and wide highways like interstates are better evacuation routes. Is any of this sounded familiar to you? Again, it's obvious, but if you've never been in the situation and you're in a panic mode, you're like, what do we do? Now we know a little bit better. Man, my voice tonight, pardon me. And to protect yourself from the smoke, a lot of times the fire doesn't kill people, it's the smoke, asphyxiation. So protect yourself with the smoke, wear a mask, keep water handy, and dampen cloths if necessary. Make sense? Okay, thumb up, appreciate that. All right, let's talk about these resources. This is pretty good. So I'm going to zoom in full screen here so you can see these. This first one I have for you is a government site, NCWeb, or however the heck you say it. And so go take a screenshot of that. It's a pretty unintuitive website name. Here's what it does. You saw this earlier. This is what it brings up. These are all the active wildfires in the United States. And if you click on one, here I clicked on one, and it brings you closer to the action. This is the one that's currently going on, I think, in Olympic National Park, on the coast of all things of Washington State. And if I click one level further, it says go to incident. And here it tells you really specifically about what's going on. And now I did this afternoon. So this was updated 4 hours earlier in the day. But if you look kind of toward the bottom there, it talks about the actual location. It talks about the contact information, which is pretty cool. And I'm guessing if you had a Garmin or something like that, you could use some triangulation here to get where this fire is specifically. And if you can see the number there, it's 10,000 acres big, and it's only 9% contained. So that thing is not even getting under control at this point. I thought that was pretty interesting. So if you are these campers, not unlike me, to be out in the woods, this would be a website I would have handy. And let's go one more forward. So this is airnow.gov. This is real-time smoke maps, really air quality, but I drilled in one level deeper to get smoke. So airnow.gov, and this is air quality monitoring stations all across the U.S. And I've kind of zoomed into Washington State up there in the kind of the top left-hand corner. And I clicked on one of the really nasty looking circles, and this is in Wilbur, Washington, which is just outside of Spokane, Washington. Wilbur. And you can see the air quality here is pretty bad because there's a fire in that area. So those are a couple of resources, and what I wanted to share with you is just a couple more apps for tracking wildfires, and we'll get your comments. I see we got quite a few in here, so thank you for being here. So here's some apps. Most of these have a free version and then a paid version. And I actually have a paid version of this first app. Let me see. Yes, I'm going to go full screen on this for you. So I went to the Apple App Store. I typed in wildfire tracking, and there's a whole bunch of them, to be honest with you. And I picked several that looked pretty good, well rated. This is the one I actually use, Watch Duty. My brother uses this. He lives outside of Spokane, and they were impacted nearly devastatingly by a wildfire in the Cheney, Washington area. And just this summer, he actually had a wildfire with their lake house out by kind of the Wenatchee area, and it leveled everything, all the lake cabins. And his girlfriend partner, her dad built that cabin in 1947, I think it was, leveled it. So all the cabins. So you never know when, where. And so I actually have Spokane zip codes so I can kind of track these. And that's what I pulled up here. So this is, again, the app's called Watch Duty. I use the paid version. And I got a couple of alerts this afternoon when I was putting together this information. And here you can see a fire that's north of Spokane. They're calling it the Argonne Fire. And it gives you some details there. Acres, it's small. There's both kind of a crowdsource and then an official staff-based update. You can see the Noah there. He's kind of a reporter. Then I think this next one, this is up north, up by Colville, which is kind of by almost the Canadian border. You can see here that Kalen, staff reporter, versus a reporter, which I think is crowdsourcing. That's the difference. Is giving us information on this fire. So very cool live updates. And that's one I would encourage you because I've used it. It's pretty good. A couple of you had recommended a few others. Here's Fire Spot. A lot of these have different drill down levels, and you pay a fee, a subscription, or an annual rate, and you get more features. This one is Fires, Wildfire News and Atlas. This one has 11,000 reviews. You can see there. If I go back to this one's got 4,000 reviews. And if we go to this one, 35,000. And this is one that my brother uses to keep track of things in his area. So I'm pretty impressed with these. It's kind of interesting. Are you ready for this? Let me show you this. Some of the stuff I had no clue of. How about if you want to track water bomber wildfire tracker app? So if you want to see them dumping water on fires, this is the app apparently. Track water bombers on radar. When you just don't have enough time in the day to do cool things, I guess you can track water bombers putting water on fires. Now, if you're in the fire area, that's actually a helpful app. I would completely agree with that. So I think the lesson here is to be aware of it. Where are you going? What are the surroundings like? What are your escape routes? How are you keeping track of things? I'm not a good person when I'm out traveling of keeping track of weather. I should do that better. But if I'm going to be in an area where there's wildfire or flash floods, I'm a lot more likely now to be much more attentive to my conditions. Because I'll share later in the year my experience of the flash flood that scared the bejesus out of me. I'll never forget that night. Oh my God. But there we are on wildfire. So let's look for some comments and questions here. And appreciate you being here. And we got a great group in here tonight. This is awesome. Let's see. We've got, oh, wow, Ryan's here. Good to see you, sir. We haven't seen you for a while. Appreciate that. Here's Peggy. Grand Junction, Colorado. That's a great town. Super cute downtown. If you're going to go see the, what do they call it? The Colorado Monument. I would recommend a whole day because the navigation takes you, if you haven't been there yet, it's like kind of the erosion, kind of like Badlands a little bit, Colorado style. But the entrance to the park, I think it's a state park, is like 6 miles out of town, which was completely misleading to me because to get to where the monument was 25 miles on this super nerve-wracking windy road. I had to turn around. I couldn't take it. So good to see you, Peggy. Go check that out. Here's RC. Glad to see you. Marcia, what's up? Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate that. Here's Ohio TJ. What's up? We just had a group of guys here at the Airbnb property celebrating a bachelor party. Avid golfers. They drank all night and they were up and out of here at 7 to go get golf going. They were from Ohio, Columbus. There's Eric in the house at a Cracker Barrel. Yay! With the old logo that's new. Um, I need to reach out to you, Eric, and get you scheduled because we'd love to hear from the owners. Let's see. Here's Gary. Thank you again for being here recently. They made it to Quebec. Oh my gosh, that's so great. Bonjour, bonsoir. They were good enough to share their story, but just last week, the days are just going by. Yes, this is good tip. Every time I get to a half tank in the van, water and gasoline. If you don't know what your next resource point is or where you're going or elevation, particularly for gasoline, because these vans are heavy and they can get 12, 15, maybe 20 miles a gallon on the highway flat. But man, you start climbing hills and that just erodes immediately. It's pretty great. Oh, so Marcia is saying Colorado at the moment has 7 fires, which is normal. It's just it's the season, right? There's rainy season stuff, but it's just it's so dry and the droughts and blah blah blah. So here's Van Can Do. Hi Scott, glad you're back. How's your health? Health is good. Mental health is okay. No seizures. I'm counting down till end of the month, first few days of October before I get in my van, which is currently at the Ram dealer, racking up a huge ass hospital bill. But I'm glad to get Lily back, hopefully next week, and get back on the road so we can get this show on the road. I'm Florida out. Here's Terry, cat or small backpack. Yeah, I would definitely have some of the airlines have collapsible like pet carriers. So I would have something like that. We had one of those when I had Luke traveling with me, our cat Luke. And we're going to be experimenting with that. So that's good advice. Keep your pets safe. They're as important as any family member, right? Someone to argue more so, but I'm not judging. Well, not keeping up with the control burdens due to federal employee, national park layoffs, complicated decision. It's all an ecosystem. So it just, I think we'll have to see how it goes. But definitely the dryness and how fast these fires spark. Now, a lot of these fires that I mentioned are lightning caused. A lot of these are not man-made cause. But we'll see where it goes. But I hope things can get under control. And so here's Gumbo talking about smoke here from a bunch of lightning strikes fires last week. Not sure they got them all out yet. Man, those men and women that do that job, holy cow. So here's Gary. Thank you for sharing. I use a Gaia app that has a forest fire map overlay that shows current fire locations in both the U.S. and Canada. So there's another resource for you. So capture that, everybody. GAIA. Clever name. Appreciate that. Here's Deborah saying, oh yeah, Ryan Hall on YouTube is a good weather resource. If you just can't get enough YouTube, that's where you want to go. And this is true here also. Local news is a good source of info. So some quick Google searches, or here in this case, Rig has TV, pick up local channels via antenna. Oftentimes they have YouTube streaming going on as well. So good idea there as well. So that's some good advice there from the crew. Then we got Roads of Life. No apologies. We just love to have you here, Mr. Hume. Always a pleasure. And David saying Roads of Life, always making an entrance. LOLJK. Very cool. So that's what I have for you tonight. This has been top of mind for me. Again, we talked about this in our Patreon Zoom a couple weeks ago, and most people in the audience had been affected in one way or another on fire. So I thought it was a good topic, even though we're kind of over the peak. Man, you see how much is still on fire out in the western half of the U.S. And if I'm headed that way, I would just be way more aware of it than I was before, and I would recommend the same for you. Here's Joe Shelburne in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. And here's Ohio TJ saying, I use Max Velocity channel for all of my weather here on YouTube. So there's another resource for you. Max, M-A-X, Velocity. And the weather app that Justin turned me on to is called Please hold. That's on my iPad, I think, mostly. AccuWeather. It did not have fires. I was kind of drilled into that app today, and it didn't have fires. It did have air quality. So AccuWeather. I think it's a paid app. I'm not sure there's a free version. Maybe it's pretty cheap. It's like $3 a month, but it's way more accurate than the native Apple app I have discovered. So other updates. Again, we got the Patriot owners, live Q&A with them, Kay and Carl, next Friday. Join us for that 7 p.m. And we'll be making some other big announcements here through the month of September, including campouts and meetups and other great things. Because with me behind the wheel here, just a few weeks away, my life is coming back. It's been quite a summer. 6 months, really. Holy cow! So I'm eager to get back in the driver's seat and go create some content and share that all with you. And if you ever want to join us for an interview about why you like van life, talk about your van. We are looking for owners in particular of a van. Maybe they've been through a few vans. Maybe they had a fifth wheel and now are in a van because of how flexible they are. Always reach out, and my email address is on my website. Cleverly go small live large at gmail is the address there. And I do check that with some degree of regularity, so reach out there. So we'll call it a wrap tonight. Just a quick thought. There's a lot of fall. Autumn is my favorite time of the year. It's warm in the day, it's cool at night, and it's the best time to get into the mountains a little bit and out of the cities, what have you. And so fires are still very relevant, and I just want to share that with you tonight. And if you're watching the replay today. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. We will talk to you soon. Peace be with you, and journey on. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.